It's 7:01 on a Saturday night. How the hell is everybody? Welcome to Jump Into the Fire. Ron Hall here. Let me take a sip of my coffee. That's some hot stuff. Whoa. Coffee in one hand, cigar in the other, and we're going to have some fun on Saturday night. Hope everybody has had a good day. Got some stuff we want to get to, and then the subject of tonight. Figured I might try to lighten it up. I'm better off when I'm on a rant about something. But Alabama's Alabama. They just beat the dog shit out of Auburn. And for all you poor Tennessee fans who thought Auburn had a chance, you're smarter than that. You're smarter than that. And I guess our turkey of the year, Jay Greason of Press Row on ESPN 105 won the Zone, and the Chattanooga Times Free Press. Maybe he's going to go crawl into a bottle because Sarkisian won, and now he doesn't have Sarkisian's alcoholism to joke about. What a douchebag. But it is what it is, and we just have to live with it. There's, if you look, I need to throw this up here real quick. And there we go. We are taking nominations now for Douchebag of the Year, which will be given our final event of 2020. The Chinese have the year of the dog, the year of the snake, the year of the pig, the year of the whatever. 2020 is the year of the turd, because 2020 has been a turd of a year, and it's kind of sad that hello Kim, hello Alan, hello to the far left of the Chattanooga Rushmore of talk radio, the Music Man Jerry Haskew. Chris Clanton's here. Who wants to go watch Georgia anyway? But disturbing news this afternoon, and I think a record was set. There are now, yesterday, 315 new cases of COVID-19 in Hamilton County. Let me remind you of something here, okay? To the Chickamauga Doughboy, you wear one of these, and you don't wear it like this. You don't wear it like this. You wear it like this. You wear a freaking mask. 315 cases, and either today it was supposed to take place or tomorrow another super spreader event is going to take place in Ringgold, Georgia, when the poster child for anorexia, Kelly Loeffler, running for Senate, and QAnon's best friend is going to make an appearance with her, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I won't be anywhere near Catoosa County because there'll be too damn many militia members out there. So break out your camo, your AR-15s, and all this bullshit, and have at it. Georgia's biggest gold digger, Georgia's #1 gold digger, Kelly Loeffler, who's running for Senate and trying to compare Raphael Warnock to the Reverend Jeremiah Wright. I would be remiss. COVID took the life today of a good man. Former Dade County Sheriff Phil Street has passed away due to COVID. And I'm talking about just being a good man in general. When I first moved back to the area and got involved with the Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe JCs, because I had been heavily involved, state officer in Florida. And I came back up here and I still wanted to be involved. And so we wanted to establish a new chapter in Dade County. And he was then the sheriff, and he allowed us to come into the sheriff's office, all the phones we needed to use to try and get a JC chapter established in Dade County. Phil Street was a good man, and we still have the COVID deniers out there, and they just don't get it. And Kim, you're exactly right. The numbers are going to go up after all the Thanksgiving gatherings and people flying and everything else. I saw footage from a local high school playoff game last night. Wasn't in Hamilton County, hint, hint. It was where all the streets were named after dead Confederate generals. Newsflash, the South lost the war. And they were packed asshole to elbow on the home side of the field. Hey, Karen, is that event in Catoosa at Spring Hill Suites, is that today or is it tomorrow when Kelly Loeffler is going to be there? I noticed that they were out in force today because I had to make a food delivery to my daughter, to my granddaughter, to my great-granddaughter. Thank you for all the prayers, by the way. They are improving. The quarantine for them should end Tuesday. Should end Tuesday. No, excuse me. Wednesday is when the quarantine should end for them. But on my way back, I had to go by the old Kmart, and there they were with their Trump flags and everything else. Hey, just like I told folks, the election's over. You lost. Move on. The next month is going to be, and Dr. Christopher Grady Haddock, one of the most respected physicians in this area who has been battling COVID, is slowly improving. But folks, talk to somebody that's had it, and you're going to find out really quickly This ain't the freaking flu, you nimrods. But, yeah, the tide rolled, Alan. They definitely rolled. Karen, that's what disturbs me about everything in North Georgia is you see such a lackadaisical attitude toward wearing a mask. And it's ridiculous. But the numbers are going to go up. Oh, there's my girl, Cindy Lou. There's my girl. That's right, the Lane train. How many Tennessee fans wish they had Lane Kiffin back? And trying to tell a Tennessee fan right now, and I could be wrong, but it doesn't appear like anything's changing. I don't know what the deal is. College football is kind of like I said a few years back. College football is better when Notre Dame is relevant. They're relevant now. College football is better when Tennessee is relevant. And kudos to Sarah Fuller, became the first female to ever play in a Power 5 conference game today when she kicked off to start the third quarter for the Vanderbilt Commodores. You're going to start seeing more and more of that. You're going to see more and more young ladies on the football field in college, especially at the kicking positions. Minimal risk, and they can kick every bit as good as a guy can. So, you know, she broke the glass ceiling for the Power 5, which is, that's awesome. But if you will direct message me at RZR Hall on Twitter, I am taking nominations for Douchebag of the Year. And Lord knows Chattanooga area is full of douchebags. I can name, just start rattling them off. Weston Wamp, David Tulish, Jay Greason. Let's see, who else? There's just 3 that come to mind like that. But direct message me on Twitter at RZR Hall with who you think should be the douchebag of the year, the turd 2020. Today's the 28th of November. Yesterday was the 50th anniversary of the release of George Harrison's first solo album after the Beatles called it quits, All Things Must Pass. So I commenced to thinking, you know, kind of like Jethro Bodine, commence. I commenced to thinking the Beatles are still the greatest artists in music history. There's no argument. There's no question about it. They have still sold about 40 million records more than the artist that is IAA list of the biggest selling albums of all time. Number 2 is Garth Brooks. But I got to thinking, what are the 10 best post Fab Four solo releases of the Beatles? What's their solo work? And I mean, I thought about this and I looked up what critics thought, and I came up with my own list of the 10 best, since they called it quits. First up at number 10 was released in 1980 and won the 1980 Grammy for Album of the Year. And this is how big an influence this one man had on me. I was in the Navy at the time, stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. No, it's not Norfolk. It's Norfolk. Norfuk. Or FUC, whatever. Okay? Norfolk, not Norfolk. And I'm stationed there. And the news came on. Now, keep in mind, in 1979, I had buried my father deep in the throes of alcoholism, and I stayed drunk for 3 days. I don't think I've ever processed the grief of losing my father. But immediately upon hearing that John Lennon was no longer with us, I broke down in my barracks and bawled like a baby. Number 10 is Double Fantasy. It was released on November 17th, 1980. And just 3 weeks later, John Lennon is murdered. I will never forget the Grammy Awards. It contains the great love song, Starting Over. And Watching the Wheels. Beautiful Boy. And I'll remember the Grammy Awards when, for whatever reason, they selected Barbara Mandrell. I mean, she was at the height of her popularity, so it's understandable. She was the presenter for Album of the Year, and when she opened the envelope, she was visibly moved when she said, Double Fantasy, John Lennon. Number 10 on the solo releases of Beatles, Double Fantasy, John Lennon. Number 9, we're going to go right back to John Lennon. Released in 1974, Walls and Bridges. Contains one of the greatest songs ever. Whatever gets you through the night. It's all right. It's all right. Bet your money or your life. It's all right. It's all right. Don't need no gun to blow your mind. Oh. And if you listen to it closely, singing with him on that is Elton John, because that was deep into the friendship between Elton John and John Lennon. In fact, this album led to the real return or the first return of John Lennon to public life, because he came out and performed with Elton at an Elton concert at Madison Square Garden. Good stuff. Nobody told me there'd be days like these. Strange days indeed. Perfect song for these times. Number 9, Walls and Bridges, the late John Lennon. John was the anarchist Beatle. He really was. I would like to think of myself in that mode, because I'm going to speak my mind no matter what. Got me in. God, I'm getting addicted to these cigars. Cindy, are you going to still love me smoking cigars? At number 8, it's his only appearance on the list, because I remember what was before this, Buku of Blues, where he had an affinity for country music. He loved it. All the Beatles loved country music, but Ringo especially. And if you go onto YouTube, you can find where he and Buck Owens, who had the first hit with Act Naturally, they teamed up and made a video. And it is hilarious, because there was such respect between Buck Owens and the Beatles. Yes, Buck Owens. Real country music, not that garbage that you saw on the CMA Awards. But at number 8, was released in 1973. And you're going to see through this list, 1973 was a good year for the Fab Four as solo artists. 1973, Ringo. What a great little album. First of all, he used a song that John Lennon had written called I'm the Greatest. Lennon at his sarcastic best. Then he had a huge number 1 hit that he co-wrote with George Harrison. Photograph. All I've got is a photograph. Realize you're not coming back anymore. Great song. And then he did a cover on the old late 50s, early 60s hit, You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. And it's Ringo, the happy-go-lucky guy. And you can say what you want. You can have Tommy Lee of the Motley Fools, John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, Alex Van Halen, name a drummer. Ringo is still the greatest drummer that has ever walked this planet, because he did what a drummer is supposed to do. Drive the music, not show off. Levon Helm with the band was the same way. You drive the music, you don't show off. And anybody worth their salt will tell you that when musicians are in a studio and they'll tell the drummer, I need a Ringo. Because Ringo had a style on it all his own. Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters worships Ringo Starr. So at number 8, Ringo from 1973. Now, at number 7, this is the one that kicked it off, because this was the first solo release. By a Beatle, McCartney. And you saw that it wasn't until you could tell who was writing what song in the Lennon-McCartney deal. So you knew when McCartney released his first solo album, it was going to be, and he addressed it later on in his career with the hit Silly Love Songs, because that's what McCartney was known for. But this one contained the classic, Maybe I'm Amazed. Maybe I'm amazed at the way you love me often. I can't sing, okay? Now, I'm an ex-guitar player. Pretty damn good one at that, by the way. Hello, Cindy Kilgore. But this got the ball rolling because this was the first solo release by a Beatle, 1970, McCartney. Now, caught everybody off guard because word had not come out officially that the Beatles were no more. And then McCartney releases that album. Number 6, 1973. See what I tell you. George Harrison, Living in a Material World. Now, I've been fortunate enough. I have seen 2 of the Beatles in concert. I've seen Paul McCartney and I have seen George Harrison. And Harrison does not get the credit that he deserves from a lot of folks. But this was the follow-up, 3 years in the waiting to his first release. And had number 1 hit, Give Me Love, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. And it was really emphasizing his spiritual side, because George Harrison was very, very, very spiritual. It's a great album. 1973, Living in a Material World, George Harrison. That's number 6. Now, number 5. I don't know how it happens, but the more I thought about it, just one catchy tune puts this one at number 5. 1971, Paul McCartney, Ram. We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. Great album. And it showed a little bit of expansion of McCartney's thinking. Good album. Good album. So Ram comes in at number 5. Number 4, 1971. Do we need to say anything about this album? Imagine John Lennon. What a beautiful song. And it is just as appropriate today as it was when it was out there. And this was when there's a little bit of a feud, because there's a song on this album that was just, hey, Paul McCartney, F you, called How Do You Sleep? Because they were on the outs for a while when the Beatles first broke up. And so he decided to just give a big old F you to Paul McCartney by writing How Do You Sleep? But to this day, Imagine is one of the most covered and most played songs in the world. From 1971. Yeah. And everybody out there who's not of a certain age is going, God almighty. Isn't there anything newer? Well, it's because most of the music now sucks. So at number 4, Imagine. Now, I knew I was getting older. I went out on a date one time, and she was about 10 years younger than I was. And something came up and about Paul McCartney, to which she responded, oh, that's the guy with the band Wings, isn't it? That because she didn't know who the Beatles were. How could I have any sort of intelligent conversation with this woman? But at number 3, there we go, 1973 again, Band on the Run. One of the most iconic album covers of all time. But think about it. Just think about the title track. Rain exploded with a mighty crash as we fell into the sun. And the first one said to the second one there, I hope you're having fun. Band on the Run. I mean, and see, that's when I saw McCartney was with Wings. Yeah, I know. You can still see my hands. But now McCartney's had some good stuff since. Flaming Pie from back in the 90s. And see, we're at a disadvantage now because he's what's left. Ringo just does his tours every year with his all-star band. It's just McCartney that's left because we lost George Harrison also. But at number 3, Band on the Run. We're down to the top 2. We got about 5-10 minutes left. Hope you're enjoying this. Hopefully I'm not boring you. Yeah, I'll save my rant for Monday night because I know I'll be good and pissed off about something. But I got one special thing to do at the end of tonight's show. Oh, and thanks for saying you would still love me, Cindy, because I smoke a cigar. Thank you. At number 2, released in 1970, John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band. It's just Mother, working class hero. I found out all very cynical songs. The song God, which talks about Lennon's disillusionment of what folks considered sacred cows, and that included the Beatles. When he walked away, he walked away. And Plastic Ono Band would tour, and a little known tidbit, part of the Plastic Ono Band was Eric Clapton. And a lot of people don't realize that on the Beatles' White Album, the guitar solo in While My Guitar Gently Weeps is Clapton. But at number 2, John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band, released in 1970. Well, that gets us to number 1, the best album released by one of the Beatles as a solo artist. And like I said earlier, 50 years ago yesterday, I knew this was coming out and I had to be there. And I bought it. And it is still one of the 20 greatest albums in the history of rock and roll. Triple album, George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. It just showed how uber talented Harrison was. And if you look at who appeared on this, either credited or uncredited, Eric Clapton, Bobby Whitlock, Ringo. Totally uncredited. Who remembers who Peter Tork is? Does anybody remember who Peter Tork is? He contributed to this album. I mean, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is My Sweet Lord. My favorite song on there is the title track, All Things Must Pass. I mean, listen to it. It's just so haunting. It isn't always going to be this gray. All things must pass. All things must pass away. Beware of darkness. Watch out now. Take care. Beware. See, Cindy got it. Peter Tork. The Monkees contributed to this album. Beware of darkness. Isn't it a pity? One of my personal favorites and a song that I love to play on guitar, Wah Wah. I loved playing that song. When we're finished, go listen to it. Wah Wah from the All Things Must Pass album. And I loved playing lead guitar on that. No, I didn't play it on the album, but you know. But that is by far away, All Things Must Pass, released in 1970, is the gold standard when it comes to the solo careers of the Fab Four. There's just something about this album that will cure what ails you, because you know there's going to be some song in there that will touch you. Nobody makes that kind of stuff anymore. Nobody makes those kind of records anymore. But that's it. Those are your 10 best. Number 10, Double Fantasy. Number 9, Walls and Bridges. Number 8, Ringo. Number 7, McCartney. Number 6, Living in a Material World, George Harrison. Number 5, Ram, McCartney. Number 4, Imagine, John Lennon. Number 3, Band on the Run. Number 2, the Plastic Ono Band. And number 1, All Things Must Pass, George Harrison. And George Harrison went on and did the concert for Bangladesh, which captured the album of the year at the Grammys the year it was eligible. And if you've never seen it, I mean, friends of mine and I were there in line when it was released in the theaters. Harrison was able to convince Clapton, who was just in the throes of heroin addiction, to contribute to the concert. And the greatest benefit concert of them all, second greatest, is the No Nukes concert, which had Springsteen, James Taylor, Carly Simon. But who was the headliner of the No Nukes? The headliner of the No Nukes concert was the Doobie Brothers. And a forgotten beautiful voice was also part of that concert, Nicolette Larson, the late Nicolette Larson. Oh, what a voice. But folks, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. But I want to share with you a message I got last night. If you'll humor me for just 1 second, please, because I need to get it in front of me, because I have never received a compliment like this in my life. I really haven't. And it totally took me by surprise and caught me totally off guard. I was never expecting something like this in my life. And there it is. I'm just going to read it word for word. Well, it disappeared. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, folks. Because I respect this human being as much as any person that has ever crossed my path in life. And for him to take the time out to send me this was just personally, for me, a huge highlight. I'm waiting on it to open up, if it will. There we go. I got this last night. And it's from the Music Man, a member of the Mount Rushmore of talk radio in Chattanooga. You, my old and dear friend, have officially assumed the mantle of Dr. B and the Music Man. I will never be able to thank Jerry Haskew enough for those words. I just do what I do. I just do what I do. And to get those words from somebody who helped create talk radio in Chattanooga is just mind-boggling. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much. Folks, that is going to wrap it up for a Saturday night. We've run just a little bit over. We hope you enjoyed the list. Don't forget, we are taking nominations for Douchebag of the Year. There's no sense in not awarding douchebaggery when it needs to be done. We will see you Monday night at 7 o'clock right here, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, for another edition of Jump Into the Fire. And always remember, please wear a mask and be kind to each other. Good night.